What's up, guys? It's DeAnna Lorraine, and you are on the New Right Network. You are on my show, Making Love Great Again, and it is Wednesday, August 29th. We have a really special show for you that you're not going to want to miss. We're going to want to stick around for the whole thing. It's really exciting. Right now, I am streaming from my YouTube channel, DeAnna Lorraine 7, but all the action right now is really going to be on the New Right Network's channel. So that is youtube.com/New Right Network, and that's where you're going to be able to actually see all the action and the main chat rooms and the special guest for today. Yes, I'm going to have a special guest coming on today at about 9:20, and you probably know who she is. If you don't know who she is yet, you're going to want to know who she is, and that is Miss Lovely Cassie Jaye. Cassie Jaye is the producer of the famous Red Pill movie. The movie that is responsible for red pilling probably thousands, if not millions, of men and women at this point in a very good way. It actually helped red pill me as well. I was already kind of red pilled, but that kind of sent me over the edge. So I'm really looking forward to it. Stick around. You're not going to want to miss this. And we will be right back in 2 seconds. We're in the middle of a romance apocalypse. There are more single adults than ever before. Marriage is on the decline. The birth rate is at the lowest point in history. People are not connecting and forming real relationships. For the first time in human history, the very concepts of marriage and romance, God, the family, gender, and even our national anthem are under attack. Our American values have been slowly deteriorating and replaced with liberal, progressive values. We're in the middle of not only the romance apocalypse, but a war on our very souls. Speaking the truth is called hate speech. Patriotism is now called racism. Believing in God makes you a bigot. The current state of America is directly intertwined with the current state of our relationships. We are actively enslaving ourselves into a loveless, joyless, genderless future. Men and women of common sense and a moral compass need to wake up to the destructive madness that is being thrust upon us in the name of progressiveness and political correctness, and look ahead to where this ideology and agenda are ultimately taking us. We can make love great again. We can make America great again. But we need to remember who we are. We need to remember the spirit and the values that once made this country and our relationships so great.
This is a struggle for the survival of our nation. And this will be our last chance to save it. This election will determine whether we're a free nation or whether we have only the illusion of democracy. And we will make America great again.
Woohoo! All right, guys, I'm back. Okay, guys, and if you don't know, remember that we are going to have, if you want to actually see the guest, then you're going to want to go on the New Right Network's channel. That is New Right Network on YouTube. And my special guest will be here in just a moment. I'm just going to say hi to her real quick, let her know that we're on standby. Okay, let's see. Okay, she is good to go. So, before she gets on, how's everyone doing today? If you guys don't know, I usually try to start our episodes with one thing that I'm grateful for, and I want you guys to all express something that you are grateful for too. I'm not grateful necessarily for this dress because I just got this dress and it's much lower cut than it looked like, and now it just feels like it's not fitting properly, but that's okay. I am grateful for a beautiful day. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to talk to all of you guys, wonderful people, and that's a really good thing. Not everybody gets to do a live stream, and not everybody gets to have the freedom to be able to do a live stream about something that they really care about and things that they're really passionate about. And a lot of people might get doxxed from their careers or fired from their jobs for speaking out about these controversial things. But luckily, this is my career. This is my job. So, hey, it's okay. I love it, and I'm grateful for it. So what's up with you guys? What are you all grateful for today? Welcome to all the people that are new on my show. Make sure, if you're new, to add me on Twitter at DeAnna Lorraine 7, and make sure that you add me on my YouTube channel, which is also DeAnna Lorraine 7. All the action is between the DeAnna Lorraine 7 channel and the New Right Network channel. And right now I'm streaming live from both because it is such an important interview, and we want to make sure that that everyone gets seen and heard today. So we all know Cassie Jaye. Most people do know her. She's somewhat of a hero in the men's rights movement because she busted up, she really dove into the men's rights movement as someone, which is even more interesting, as a feminist. And she was a former feminist. And you know, it really gives the other side of the story. And we never, you know, feminists only like to tell one side of the story. And it's constant. And we hear it ad nauseum every single day, the same story. But we never get to hear the other side of the story, right? We never get to hear. I know because I've been researching this for a while. But if I wasn't researching this for a while, guess what? I wouldn't have known about it like most people don't. Take a look at, for instance, just some of these ridiculous articles that come out on the daily. Look at this. Okay, so you can see this, right? And I'm a little bit hidden, so let me try something else. Okay. Okay, so this happens all the time, right? This is a constant kind of thing that we see all the time, these kind of news articles. Women directors slam toxic masculinity of Venice Film Festival. Okay, so here's an article that just came out a few hours ago. The Venice Film Festival was slammed for its toxic masculinity as it opens Wednesday with just one female director represented among its most mouth-watering lineup in decades. With Hollywood effectively turning the festival into its launch pad for the Oscars, blah, 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 feminists have lashed the organizers for choosing only one film by a female director. This is the second year in a row that Venice has featured just one film by a woman among the 21 vying for the Golden Lion Type Prize. So, and then festival director, luckily, declared that he would rather quit than give in to the pressure for a quota for women after the Cannes, Toronto, and Locarno festivals pledged themselves to gender equality. Now, and of course, his stance was lambasted by feminists everywhere. And here's my problem with this, as it should be an issue. This should not be about a quota. This isn't about reaching a quota. You should be represented in films. You should be represented in projects. You should be represented in anything that you do based on your talent, based on your merit, right?
That's all that it should be. And if we're getting to a stage where we're just, you know, hey, let's have you win, or let's have you be represented just because you're a female, because of your gender, isn't that sexism? I thought that's the very thing that we are fighting against. So we need to stop this tyranny, but these are feminists. This is what they do, and they won't stop. Once you give them an inch, they take 10 miles. There's never enough. There's never making them happy. So that's why you might as well not even try to make them happy, instead of cower to this threat, these demands for no more toxic masculinity. You know, these festivals are going to just be destroyed, just like everything else that feminists touch, if they keep submitting to the will of these feminists and to the demands of these feminists. There's nothing that these festivals are doing wrong. They're simply following what they should be doing, which is representing people based on and celebrating people based on their merit and their talent. Here's another ridiculous article. 4 common phrases that demonstrate internalized misogyny. All right? Four common phrases that demonstrate internalized misogyny. And this is from our good old everydayfeminist.com. Well, so this whole thing is about internalized misogyny. All right? And it's basically saying harmful things about other women and saying things that you don't even mean, that are outwardly somehow misogynist. It's constant with these women. So it's not enough, of course, to say things out loud that you don't even mean. But what about internally? That's what they're trying to do. So now we're trying to heal people and punish people for internalized misogyny. In order to challenge the patriarchy, we have to be willing to recognize how the patriarchy affects even our thoughts and actions. Yes, if you're not ahead in life, if you're not thinking even the correct way, if you have negative thoughts, don't blame your parents, don't blame you, don't blame yourself for trying to get, don't try to actually make a difference, go to a personal development course, go to a therapist or a life coach to try to overcome these negative beliefs. No, the only thing you need to do is focus on taking down the patriarchy, because it's the patriarchy that is responsible for your negative inner thoughts, which are somehow internalized misogyny. And thank you for the tips, by the way, on my YouTube channel. Internalized misogyny, can you believe it? I can't. I'm going to adjust the lighting here. So, what else? And then we have another article. Is ethical non-monogamy for you? This is a whole scary article on ethical non-monogamy, trying to pitch, it's just a pure piece of propaganda, trying to pitch the joys of non-monogamy and polyamory, and how it's just as great and just as healthy as monogamy and as marriage. And this is the continued effort of feminists to break down traditional family and dismantle marriage, traditional marriage, and make it obsolete. All they want to do is create other dysfunctional forms of marriage and pretend that it's exactly the same as regular traditional marriage with a man and a woman, mind you. All right? So this, yes, so this is it's just a hack. I mean, it's just, look at this. Ethical non-monogamy, and of course Everyday Feminism is sponsoring a whole course on it, exploring love, abundance, and accountability. So they're trying to correlate non-monogamy with abundance. Why have just one partner when you can have an abundance of partners? Woo! How to open up your relationship with an intersectional feminist lens. Look at this. Challenge toxic relationship beliefs and understand what's right for you. Loving openly and freely is a political act. Look at this. So they're really demonizing regular traditional marriages. And it's really sad because, as we know, we need the traditional marriage and family. It is the most important unit of our society. And when we don't have traditional marriage and family, our society actually gets less wealthy. People get more likely to hooked on drugs, go to jail, drop out of school. They're less likely to contribute in positive ways to the society, more likely to be destructive, and it just doesn't work. The only thing that's been proven to work actually is traditional marriage and traditional family. But we know that feminists have been hard at work at dismantling this, and it's right in front of our eyes to see, right? Getting pitched on everyday feminism is this course, challenging toxic relationship beliefs. And they're really pushing it, the validity and the integrity and the beauty of non-monogamy. And they're calling it ethical non-monogamy. This is something that, these are teenagers that read this magazine, high schoolers that read this Everyday Feminism magazine. And this is getting shoved down their throat. It's pure propaganda. It's really sad. Oh, and it's all just $35. $35, you can get indoctrinated into being a complete slut or man whore with no boundaries. Yeah, that sounds about right. That's all they care about these days. It's anything goes. No boundaries, no borders, mentally or physically or sexually. Meanwhile, there is a study that just came out yesterday saying STDs in America have reached an all-time high, and we're wondering why. Oh my gosh. And this was the funniest thing when I saw it come through. Funny, but not funny, saying that STDs we've just found has reached an all-time high in America. We're trying to figure out why. Yeah, as they pitch this non-monogamy 24/7 and this, Planned Parenthood propaganda garbage telling girls, go get your abortions. Abortions are great and ethical. Doesn't matter how many abortions you have. Don't do abortion shaming. Let's have hot and heavy sex and teach you anal sex and fisting in elementary school. Yeah. And they wonder why STDs has reached a full-time high. I wonder. Parents, get your kids off of TV and YouTube and don't let them go to Planned Parenthood for their sex education. It's pure hedonism and it sucks. And by the way, thank you all for watching again. You're on Make Love Great Again. And I am your host, DeAnna Lorraine. And I am right now streaming from both my YouTube channel, DeAnna Lorraine 7. If you haven't clicked the big red bell, the subscribe button on my channel, make sure you go do that. And if you want to support or donate to the cause of making love great again, then you go to my channel at DeAnna Lorraine 7 and send a little tip while I'm streaming right now. Everything's much appreciated. New Right Network, though, is where you can actually see the guest that I'm about to bring on right now, the lovely Miss Cassie Jaye. She will be on in just a second. And make sure, again, because people need sometimes repeating, if you want to actually see the guest, you're going to have to go to New Right Network on YouTube. YouTube/New Right Network. Sorry if it's confusing and I'm streaming in two different places here. But New Right Network is the place I stream from, and my YouTube channel is my actual YouTube channel. Hey guys in the room, thank you so much. Hi newcomers. Like Eddie Murphy said in Saturday Night Live, be somebody, be a hoe. Enabled super chat on here, please. Yeah, I'm trying to see how they can do that. Cassie is another sane voice in this jungle out here. Okay. All right, so just a moment, guys, while I do this and take care of this. Hold on. Okay, so let's see where she is. You have room to stand in this portrait view. Next time, should I do the horizontal view, the landscape view? All right, she should be coming on any minute now. I have two of me. Okay, let me just text her and make sure that everything is all good to go. Thanks, guys, for being patient. Oh, and in the meantime, okay, let's, love you guys. Love you guys. Okay, while we're doing that, we can listen to a little Proud to Be an American. Hey everyone. God bless the USA. Hey Shooter from Down Under. Do I do these streams? Do I do these streams by myself? I do. Will, are you going to follow her 10 commandments? You all should follow my 10 commandments. Did you guys see the red pill? Okay, let's look at this other story actually while we're waiting. Thank you for your patience, guys. We should probably do testing before they come on. Okay, here's another sad story. What about this? Toronto is opening up a new sex doll brothel. Can you believe this? Why? These dolls are designed to provide intense sensation. Yeah, I'm sure. And you know what? Guys are going to go for it too. And it sucks. And I don't want this to happen. I really don't. But I almost don't blame them. Because, you know, a lot of girls are just really not at all attractive anymore. They're not feminine anymore. They don't want to be attractive or feminine anymore. So what's a guy to do? Plus on top of that, they're so bitchy. you know? So sorry, guys. Thank you for your patience. Also is for saving money, I guess. All right. I'm really sorry, guys. Cassie just thought we were meeting on Skype, but no, we said we were going to be doing Zoom. But it's okay. Okay, so this new business is advertising itself as North America's first sex doll brothel. This is so sad. Where customers can pay to have sex with high-tech silicone models. It's slated to open... okay, Cassie. Okay, what is it? This Zoom ID. We're going to have to just edit all of this out. Okay. Someone's asking me, why am I filming like this? If I don't film it like this, it's going to be too low. That's why. Are you there? And then it's going to be too low and it's going to get only like my second half of my body. I'd rather get my top half of my body personally. Okay, looks like something's happening in here. Okay.
I'm here.
Yay, you're here. A little bit fashionably late, but better late than never.
I know. Well, you know, this show is all about relationships.
Exactly.
And my man is working today, and he's the one that would do all this.
Oh, really?
For me. Yeah, he checks that email and would do all this. So
he's
so
cute.
Sorry
he's like your...
he's not here that I'm a mess.
Don't even worry. Let me just close out this right side. I'm not the best at technology either. So let's see. Exit full screen. Okay. Okay. There we go. All right. The two of us are on.
All right.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. It's great to see you after London.
I know. Yeah, I wish we got to talk more, but now we have right now.
Yeah, for sure. I was kind of disappointed that your husband couldn't be on because I wanted to share a little bit about your love story, but you guys will just have to come on another time.
I know. Yeah, I would love that. I think he's only been on camera maybe once or twice before, so
little camera shy.
Yeah, but he's good.
Yeah, some people in life are in a relationship. They are the main kind of the person who's more in the front in the public spotlight, and then other people are they prefer to be in more of the supportive role. And
yeah, definitely.
It's a good team.
Mm-hmm.
So Cassie Jaye is the producer and the creator of the movie, The Red Pill movie. And we have a lot of really excited people here in the chat rooms that are excited that you're here. And
thank you.
Yeah. And you have, your movie kind of helped to confirm everything that I had been researching. I was about maybe 95% red pilled. And it was when I was writing my book. And it was the final piece when I watched your movie. It was kind of, there was something that I was avoiding when I was going to watch your movie, and I kept kind of avoiding it. And I think I was a little bit afraid, to be honest, to completely be immersed in that in the men's rights movement. And then when I watched your movie, it was like the final piece that got me sort of 100% red pilled. So I'm really grateful for that. And I would say that if only we can get in front of more people.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm really glad to hear that. And I've only been watching your kind of rise on the periphery, but it really does seem like you hit the ground running, already knowing a lot of, I mean, pretty much all the issues. And from the videos I've watched of you, I'm just like, where did this girl come from? Like you're caught up to speed on everything. And so I don't know how long your red pill journey took. Mine was about like a 3.5 year long journey from my, feminist mindset until finally releasing the label and having more of an open perspective. But how long was your red pilling journey?
Well, I would say I never actually identified as a feminist, and I always felt that there was something internally off about the mindset and the ideology of it. I grew up with 4 brothers and a lot of men in my family, and I never really understood this kind of feeling of pitting each other against each other. And whether feminists do it intentionally or not, there definitely seems like sort of an us versus them mentality, and a kind of, we're not on the same team, we're sort of on opposite teams, and in order for me to succeed, I kind of need to push you down and make it seem like your experiences don't matter and women's are the only ones that matter. I just never really felt that way, and I still don't feel that way. But working with men actually on a daily basis in their personal lives, because I've been a relationship and dating coach for the last 10 years, in their personal life, I can feel like their energy has just been more and more demotivated and lacking purpose in life, and feeling unappreciated, and feeling like they're not really clued in anymore to society, or they don't feel like the heroes or appreciated men that they once were. And I saw it just get worse and worse over the last 5 years. And I'm really sensitive to energy. And so like I can sort of feel this planetary feeling of men feeling lost and unappreciated and unneeded, and growing more and more angry and depressed over it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my blabbing on a little bit, but that was my experience in a nutshell. And so I decided to write my book because I really felt like more women needed to hear this. And understand that we're fighting each other is not solving any problems, and we really need to return to a state of proper gender respect for each other and goodwill toward each other. And I feel like that's slowly dying if we don't make any changes.
Love it.
So how did so you were a pretty, would you say a pretty hardcore feminist before you embarked on your journey?
I mean, in my circle of friends, I was the token feminist. I became a feminist around like 2004, 2005. And back then it was not fashionable. I was living in LA, and I was pursuing acting at the time. I was a horrible actress. So no one has to worry about me like giving a great performance in the red pill, because I was a horrible actress. But yeah, you can watch any of my old acting reels and you know.
I'm going to.
Yeah, actually don't. Yeah, they're really bad. But I was frustrated with how I was being treated in Hollywood, and I do think that Hollywood sprouts new feminists because of the culture there, of how you go on auditions and how you're typecast, and I was really frustrated with the way I looked didn't matter or didn't match the way I felt inside. And so I was going out for these roles that I felt was so different from me. So, just being like ditzy blonde girl who's like a seductress and all this. And I really wanted the deeper kind of, I don't know,
intellectual
teen roles. Yeah. Like a, I don't know, Juno type of thing where, you're just kind of a multi-layered woman who's trying to figure it out. But I never got called out for those roles, mainly because, I didn't look like that. And anyways, and then I had, producers that were crossing the line, and I never went down that path. But that did make me have a chip on my shoulder, and I was thinking, oh, it's because I'm a woman, and my whole lot in life is going to be hard just because of my gender. And so I started to express that anger to my friends, and then they said, oh, you're a feminist, and then I looked it up, and I just found that it was, supporting the equal rights between men and women, and I was like, yeah, sure, that's basic, right?
Yeah, of course.
That's the easy, flyer that gets a lot of people to join.
Yeah,
it's
who doesn't want that?
Yeah. So I started proudly calling myself a feminist, and a lot of my friends were rejecting that label, and now they are very feminist and hate the Red Pill movie, and think that I've gone off the deep end and gone crazy or something.
Yeah, they think we're lunatics for maybe having a little bit of compassion for men.
Yeah. And it was really just a lack of information about men's issues. And wherever you read about gender theory, it was always from the radical feminist perspective. So, I didn't have that kind of information to balance out the spectrum. And, so it really did take making the red pill to red pill me. And I'm glad it did, because I do think it saved my relationship. I think I'm a better person now. I think, and I ultimately think that's the direction our whole society needs to go in, is understanding all sides, all perspectives.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I have to just ask you, because I kind of what I do, but when you say it kind of saved your relationship going down the path of exploring men's issues more, can you tell us a little bit more about how you feel it saved your relationship?
So I was with my now husband, Evan, I think for 2 years before I started the Red Pill, because we met in March 2011 or April 2011, and I started the Red Pill in March 2015. And for those first 2 years, I would pick fights out of the blue. I mean, usually it was about housework, because we started living together 1 year in, and it was a decision where his lease was up. I was living with my parents at the time, struggling documentary filmmaker.
Yeah.
And so it just made sense to move in 1 year in. And I started to get really frustrated with the housework. And that was usually the root of arguments I would start. And then, I think in general, women are more clever and cunning at arguments, and can, pull out past experiences that person did to them, or things that really weren't ever malicious, but taken as offensive. And so I think I did do a lot of those mind games, and now I can say that because I've changed, and I realized what I was doing back then. But maybe it was power play. I definitely think I had a chip on my shoulder, because I was a feminist at that time. And I think I was, especially, that was probably the height of my feminism, was those first 2 years of dating Evan. And, I was constantly frequenting Jezebel.com and feministing. And so I was just, that's all the information I was getting. And it riles you up, and it makes you angry. And
it does.
So I was bringing that into my relationship, and thank goodness he was so patient with me. I think because he grew up in Berkeley with his whole family being feminists, I think he was more forgiving, and he understood why I was acting that way, and water off the duck's back or whatever. So thank God he was so forgiving and stuck with me, and patient and tolerant. And then kind of my first little seed of a red pill was, and I talked about this in my Sargon and Cod interview way back in 2015. I was going out to a sushi dinner with Evan, and I brought up the Steubenville rape case, and he started bringing up common sense questions that are not so common, talked about. But like, why did she go out with these guys she didn't know, leaving her girlfriends behind at the party, going in the car away with these, you know, group of guys, drinking to the point of passing out? And I mean, you can look into that story, and there are a lot of bad judgment calls, you know, for I think she was 16 or 17. So, you know, that led to that point of, you know, an unexcusable rape. But asking those questions like, well, where was her responsibility or accountability in her actions? And I was fuming. I was furious that he's bringing up these arguments, and I started to think, oh my gosh, I'm dating a misogynist. He's a secret women hater. He's a victim blamer. And I started to hyperventilate in this middle of the sushi restaurant, and like Reese Witherspoon and Legally Blonde. I was just, you know, panicking. Hilarious. And we drove back home, and we went into the house, and I continued arguing, and then I threatened to leave, and I actually got in the car. I was in the driver's seat, and he got in the passenger. He's like, don't leave. And thank goodness I didn't go, because I don't know where we'd be now if I actually drove away and, you know, wouldn't talk to him for a while.
That's a wonderful story.
What's that?
That's an amazing story. It really brings home the point that a problem with so many women these days is they when they're faced with just irrational facts or just the other side of the picture, the other side of the story, they can't seem to deal, and they have a breakdown, and they don't even face the truth, or they get upset, or they call you names like a misogynist, and that's a real problem, you know, on a worldwide level, right?
Yeah. I think at the time, I think I didn't trust my own critical thinking skills, because if I did, then I would listen to the men's rights argument, or at that time, my boyfriend's arguments, and critically think about it with a calm demeanor. But I've pondered over the years, like, why was I so quick to shut down an alternate perspective? And I think I didn't trust my critical thinking skills because I didn't have all the information. So when an MRA or my boyfriend would bring up a different side of the argument that I'd never thought of before, I would get defensive that I'd never thought of it. And so rather than really sitting there trying to consider, I'm thinking they're lying, or they're victim blaming, or they're misogynist. And that's what I did to the MRAs during filming The Red Pill. And it wasn't, as I talked about in my TEDx talk, it wasn't until going through the transcripts and the raw video footage of my interviews did I really start to consider what they're saying, and then go and research what they were saying to fact check.
Wow.
But it was a long process. I really didn't want to believe it or acknowledge their arguments. So yeah, it took me a while.
That's amazing. And it's like, how brave of you. Not very many people, nor women, will do that. That they're going into the lion's den, and it's worse than even just having a one-person discussion. Like you literally had discussions with all the things that you feared and made you uncomfortable, and then really try to understand that side. That's extremely brave and humble of you to do that.
Yeah, and what's a bit depressing is most people do not have that kind of time to go talk to 44 men's rights activists and film them for hours on end. And you know, I think that's what's kind of sad and scary about right now with the filter of information that we get in the media. It is so filtered through the feminist rose-colored glasses, and you just don't hear the other side of the story. You don't even get the news reports of, you know, the male suicide rates, or the men who are killed by their spouse or by a hitman that their spouse hired, or losing their children because the wife wants to adopt them away and he didn't. So you know, there's just an information gap, and you know, hopefully the Red Pill helps change that.
Oh, totally. And it's crazy because your movie even got censored, right? And got banned, and, you know, and people, even I see the interviews sometimes with you and newscasters, and they're even getting triggered in the news, you know, in the actual segment, they're getting triggered. And these are highly professional people that are getting triggered on national TV just by you showing them some facts. It's why, like, you have to wonder, and one has to wonder, we all have to wonder, if someone's trying so hard to censor something, why? You know?
Yeah, I was just watching I think it was Jordan Peterson on Weekend Sunrise, which is in Australia. And that was one of the news programs that really just tried to smear me, take me through the mud. And they didn't even watch the film, and they had a lot of opinions about it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they were just throwing epithets and accusations at me without knowing the facts. And so I was watching Jordan Peterson on the show, and I was thinking, why do they keep inviting, like, the alternative, you know, personalities or the new media kind of personalities onto their show if they really want to just demonize all of us? And the only thing I can think of is they're trying to identify the enemy for the audience. You know, these ideas are the enemy, even though he's just saying there are biologically two sexes and two genders, and you shouldn't force like police speech on people with the whole pronouns debate. It wasn't that, you know, it wasn't a social argument. It was he was arguing the legislation that would force people to say certain words for and, you know, police their speaking,
which is pretty scary.
Yeah, and so I'm guessing that they just keep inviting, you know, whether it's Ben Shapiro or Jordan Peterson or Lauren Southern or Stefan Molyneux, I'm guessing they're just extending those invitations to show the public these are our enemies. The way they think and the arguments they make are what we have to fight. But, you know, you can't turn down those interviews. You have to you know, get your ideas out there and go on the shows. But, you know, sorry, are you there?
Yes, I think the audio went out for just a minute.
Okay. I lost your...
Yeah, I'm going to have to go to... I would be scared to go on CNN or MSNBC, but I know I will have to at some point.
Sorry, I lost your video. I'm trying to find you again.
Oh, shoot.
No, I see myself.
Oh, you see yourself? Okay, then.
I see yourself, but not you. So maybe I'll just act like it's a radio.
You may have to click on like the camera button again, although I don't want you to end the meeting. But you can try clicking the camera button on and then off again, maybe.
I don't.
Where's our man when you need
okay,
one?
I see. Hello. Yeah, so we gotta still get out there and get the...
Yeah, and the people that need to hear it most are sadly the people that are least hearing it, you know, the people that are least interested in hearing it. And you know what makes me really sad is that I posted some pictures from the men's rights conference in London, and all I posted was, along with the picture, I would post some facts like, you know, suicide rate, 80% male. And, you know, job death rate, 97% male or 94% male. Combat rate. And I just literally did, you know, graduation rate, now 57% female. And I was going through a list of simply facts, and I didn't say anything about feminists. I didn't say anything bad at all. All I said was, is it possible that maybe we don't get the full side of the story? And is it possible that maybe we can have compassion and listen to the men's side of the story for a change? You know, we've been so focused on women's issues since the 1960s. Maybe we can look at the men's side, because this isn't a zero-sum game. And when they are down, we're all down. And you wouldn't believe the amount of trashing comments I got from women on my Instagram and my Twitter. I mean, I actually had to block some people that I've been friends with for years, because they were so mean. It makes me wonder, do they have like a heart? It's like, I never said anything bad about feminists, but all I said was, just, can you have a little bit of a compassion for men? And they can't seem to have room in their heart for men's issues. It seems like they either have to be so concerned with women 100%, or somehow women are being mistreated and ignored. What do you think about that? And do you experience the same?
I get very frustrated with a lot of the things I see on Facebook or Instagram, and from, I do believe, well-intentioned people who don't have all the information. Yeah. And I think some of the most, you know, basic, non-refutable facts about what is the demographic breakdown of the U.S., you know, that explains why a majority of CEO positions are white men. That is, next to white women, that is the biggest group in the U.S. Or talking about, suicide rates, or talking about custody, women who have children, it's roughly about half of all women actually give birth. So the other, I think it's like somewhere between 48 and 52% of women who never have children, they're free to go out in the workforce and not have the issue of, do I take maternity leave, and do I, fall behind my male colleagues for not being in the workforce that long. So, all these facts that, come from the census, or, any like major study, the government study that can be widely, considered reputable, those help bring perspective to the gender debate. And but it's like they have their heads in the sand and they don't want to hear that. And I do think that women who have children, have a very different hill to climb compared to women who never had children. And, I wish that there was more acceptance of talking about the differences of the genders. And not make it about, because women lose a few years in the job force because they took off time to have kids, therefore all women are oppressed by all men. No, we should be realistic about, what are the struggles. Men are far more likely to get all sorts of different diseases and cancers because of the kind of dangerous work that they're in. And that's not saying that all men are discriminated against by all women.
Right.
These are just the realities of the, different parenting roles, and so I wish we could have these kind of nuanced conversations. And it's also a lot of the conversations around gender are very conflicting. You'll hear a feminist say that there are no differences between the genders at all. But then we have 63 genders. So there's kind of like this wanting to wash away all the differences of the genders, but then let's add more categories and say how we're all different and make sure that you use, Z or Z or they or them.
That doesn't make sense.
But, and then the whole pronouns thing, I know I'm kind of all over the place right now, but the pronouns thing, I was just printed by the SPLC, Southern Poverty Law Center, that I am a feminist turned men's rights activist, and I was funded by male supremacists, none of that is true. And
it just makes up lies.
It was on their like hate watch, article, which is terrifying that now I'm, on their hit list,
Wow.
And what was so frustrating is like I've been, upfront in every interview I've done practically that I am a registered Democrat still. I still consider myself a liberal. I am not a men's rights activist. I'm no longer a feminist. I do not have a label like egalitarian or equalist or humanist or anything. I'm just trying to still be a student of
figure out the truth.
Life. And so I've been very adamant that I'm not a men's rights activist, and yet here the SPLC labels me for me, but you're not supposed to give someone a pronoun without asking them first what their preferred pronoun is. I get, that's going to upset a lot of people in the LGBT community, but because they would say that, I was biologically born, different than just man or woman, cut and dry. But, I do self-identify as Democrat, liberal, and documentarian, but not men's rights activist, not feminist. And so I don't understand how they can label me for me. It's just
they do it, I think they do it to intimidate and bully you out of your mission of seeking the truth and standing up for the truth. And, even speaking up for men, even though you don't say that you're a men's rights activist, you're still sometimes speaking up for men and sharing some of their truths. So if they label you as something, that's so hideous that, their hope is that you would just retreat out of fear or intimidation and distance yourself from doing these noble things. And that's just really sad that they use those tactics.
Yeah, and I'm certainly an advocate of men's issues as well as animal rescue. I just adopted two kittens that you probably hear scurrying around on the floor.
Yeah, I was hearing them a little bit. That's cute.
Yeah, I mean, I advocate for a lot of things. I'm a pescatarian. I don't eat meat. There's a ton of issues that I care about. So we
can't be multifaceted anymore. It seems like we can't just be like, I care about men or I care about this issue or that issue. They want to just put one label on you.
Yeah. And then I think it was the GQ magazine in the UK, right before the London conference, they printed my name alongside Richard Spencer's, saying that I was an influencer of the alt-right.
Wow. And you're you're a Democrat. It's so bizarre to me. Yeah. And sad, that they're so afraid of the truth, and they're so afraid of people who just want to be a student of life and hear the truth and have balanced sides. That's the most important thing to me, is just fairness and balance. If we're going to say women get all these advantages or get these things, then, what about men? And the truth is that right now our legal system is skewed. It is discriminatory towards men, especially in the divorce and family courts, as I'm sure you've heard a lot of heartbreaking stories. And, there's something, MGTOW, is growing by the day, and that's a kind of it's scary to me. I have to engage with a lot of people in MGTOW every day, and a lot of them do have heartbreaking stories, but a lot of them have just turned really, really angry too, and that kind of anger can turn destructive when you just feel like the whole system is rigged against you, and women just, when you don't feel appreciated or wanted or needed in society anymore. These are kind of the ramifications of that gone to an extreme.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, MGTOW was one topic I was considering for a next film, and I'm not going to do it, so that's why I can talk about it. But I mean, there is a lot of anger in that community, and at the conference in London, there were a few big debates. One was, should the men's rights movement accept the label of anti-feminist proudly, or should they try to avoid that? But another debate was over marriage. And I know Paul Elam had a video presentation at the International Conference on Men's Issues, ICMI, saying to reject marriage. And, here I had just gotten married like 2 weeks prior. so, and my husband was with me there listening to this.
I was wondering if that made you feel weird, both of you guys being there.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where he's coming from and where MGTOWs are coming from. And, ultimately, I think why that doesn't work is if you want to have children. If you want to have children, I am old-fashioned in that I think it's best for the kids that the parents are married and have that legal commitment, binding commitment together.
Yeah.
So, and I do hope to have a family someday. So that was really the reason for us to get married. It wasn't, religious based or any other reason. I mean, of course, the benefits of, like, if something happens, if someone's in the hospital and that kind of thing, that helps as well. But yeah, I was really just wanting to start a family. So, I think if MGTOWs are telling men don't get married, reject it, you're also saying don't have offspring, don't have lineage, don't have progeny. Like, it's a tall order, but at the same time, I think it's something like 35 to 40% of men procreate. So it's actually less men who have offspring, and it's like around 50% of women. So what that means is that, of the less men that have children, some of them are having, multiple baby mommies kind of thing. But, it's that means that there's, 60 to 70% of men who never have kids.
Wow.
And, I know many of those men. I think probably I know more men that have never had children and are older in life than I know, not even from the Red Pill, but just from life before the Red Pill movie. So, and they wouldn't necessarily call themselves MGTOW. It just the ships never fell that way for them.
Yeah. I do believe that it's, I don't know what your thoughts on this are, but I don't think it's really a solution to have women go their own way and men go fully their own way and just give up the institute of marriage, give up having families. I mean, and then we're headed for societal collapse. And I think we need to really try and give our best effort to work on the changes before we get to that. That's kind of a last resort. And I do think that nothing is going to be solved if we continue to be even more severe enemies of each other and we don't have any offspring and we don't create great families. I think great families and marriages are what make our country strong and what makes communities strong and individuals strong. And if we just say that, to hell with that, it just doesn't work. It actually does work. It's been proven to work for many years, but it's I think the changes that we made to the legal system and the family courts that have become very pro-women and anti-male, that the risk has become very great for male, and it's not the same risk for women. If we can fight to make those changes and get a lot more women on board and see the reason why, then, I don't know, do you think that we have a possibility of rectifying the situation before all hell breaks loose?
I think women really should be the ones encouraging this discussion.
Yeah.
So I have a quick story I want to share.
Sure, yeah.
Kind of recent. In our one bathroom in our very small cottage, we have a mirror that has a very large frame around it. And where the mirror is placed is fine for me. I'm 5'7", it's fine. My husband is, I think, 6'2". Mm-hmm. And for the, 2 years we've been living in this cottage, he's always told me that the mirror is too low. And he has to bend down to, brush his teeth or whatever. Mm-hmm. So yesterday, I think it was yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, I wore my tallest heels to go out to dinner with him. Mm-hmm. And I went into the bathroom and realized I couldn't see my face at all. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. Like, how have you been living like this?
Yeah.
So I said to him on the drive to dinner, I was like, we have to trade out that mirror. Like, this is not acceptable. And I realized something. Mm-hmm. Men are problem solvers. Women are problem raisers. I never saw that as such an issue until I finally experienced it. Wow. And now I'm like, we have to solve this. And of course, my husband's all down, pick out the mirror, I'll install it, whatever. But because I didn't see it as a problem, I never made it happen. And my husband's not going to go out of his way to do more housework than necessary or handyman stuff than necessary. It's usually me saying, okay, this is a priority this weekend.
Yeah.
But I think women identify the problems, and this is the first time I've ever shared this.
It's a great story.
I hope it holds up.
Yeah. I love it.
But yeah, I think women need to identify what are the problems, and you can arrive at seeing those issues by reading books like The Boy Crisis and really realizing, the issues of fatherlessness and how the majority of mass shooters actually come from a single mother home, or the majority of serial killers come from a single mother who was abusive. You can read different books or hear different, podcasts and come to these conclusions, but we women, we need to gather this information and really start to say, this is a problem. Mm-hmm. We need to identify this as a problem, and we need to work to solve this. Mm-hmm. And I think, we will have men being like, okay, whatever you need. And that's why feminism has been so successful, is feminist women were saying, these are problems, and feminist men were saying, okay, we will work to solve them for you and with you. Yeah. So I think women need to work towards helping men now. I mean, it's...
Yeah. 100%.
It's time.
It is time. I think
overdue.
The magnifying glass has been on women's issues for many, many years, and we have to have women see, because you're right, it's the mirror situation. Women sometimes are stuck in their own issues, or maybe something else that they're passionate about. But when they really get it, that they're like, the light bulb goes off that, oh wait, this problem affects me.
I know. So narcissistic, right?
I know.
Yeah, I totally realize how egocentric that epiphany was.
But it's true, though. I mean, that's the sad thing. Like, if we can get enough women to recognize that this is a women's issue too, this is an earth issue. And if we have no good men, it's like, I don't know if you remember on the Titanic, when that movie, when they got all the women and children on the lifeboats, and then they finally had an opportunity to maybe go back and get some of the men. And Kathy Bates said, we got to go get our men. Our men are there. We got to go get them. And everyone was just cold and shivering. And we're basically like, no, we don't really feel like it. And she's like, but those are our men. Like, what good are we going to be if we go back to the safety and there's no men over there? And it just, women need to understand, what good is it getting ourselves to safety, and there's not going to be any men over there to bring us and to procreate and to do the things that we love with men and for men.
Yeah. Well, studies have shown that in times of crisis or less resources or times of war, people rely on the nuclear family even more. Mm-hmm. And, I think it just goes to show that we are living so comfortably right now that, women are rejecting men and rejecting marriage and, waiting so long to have or start having a family.
Yeah.
But, in times of crisis, you want to go back and save those men on the sinking Titanic. You need as many people as you can to help this machine keep going.
Yeah. I love that. Get the machine going. So do you have just a few more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Just because I wanted to talk real quick about your relationship. And by the way, just to let the viewers know, there were some people at the Men's Rights Conference that did recently get married or that were going to get married too. So, they can, and I don't think that the right thing to do also is to teach your sons MGTOW at a very young age. I do kind of think that that's sort of poisoning unnecessarily a son's mind. Hey, stay away from women or stay away from marriage. I think it's good to let them know of some of the risks, and know how to find a good woman. But I do believe that marriage and family can be successful. You just have to go about it the strong and the smart, strategic way. Speaking of, thank you. Speaking of marriage, and then someone asked me in the chat room. There's been a lot of questions in the chat room, but I just haven't been able to get to a lot of them. Someone said, "Have you been attacked by the Swedish feminists yet?"
Oh, probably. They haven't, tagged my name or anything, so I don't know.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah, probably. I know we did have a week where we were the top-selling movie in Sweden. So
wow.
Yeah,
probably the Swedish guys.
It got around.
Yeah, for sure. And then so you already discussed the potential child abuse that a lot of single mothers have and the risks that a lot of the problems that arise from single mothers. So tell me real quick. So you just recently got married a month ago, and you've been married, and he's a great guy. I met him at the conference and spent some time talking to him. You were lucky. You found a really great partner. And do you feel like you're doing anything differently or might go about your marriage any differently to make sure that you don't fall susceptible to these kinds of common pitfalls in marriage? Or do you think just a positive attitude helps? Anything that you can say that you're going to try to really defeat these odds? Because I believe, just seeing you guys together, I really feel a great confidence that you guys will beat the odds and you guys will have a successful marriage because there's a great partnership between you two.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's actually been 2 months now. We got married June 23rd.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we've had so many ebbs and flows in our 7-year relationship now, 7.5 year. And, one of the big kind of changes that we've had to go with the flow is trading gender roles off and on. So there are periods where it made more sense for me to throw myself into work and for him to support me at home and making sure we both eat and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then there are periods when it's like, no, he really should, get back to work. And so we've had to have a lot of those conversations and revisit, where are we now and what should we talk about and how we move forward. Mm-hmm. And so I think defining expectations and communicating those expectations, but also be extremely forgiving for not meeting those expectations is important. And but being really honest with, even, I think it was probably within the past month or two, Evan was doing a lot of the housework, and I was focusing more on the documentary work and the Red Pill press and everything. And once my work kind of started to dip and I didn't have as much to do in that, I actually really wanted to take over the housework and kind of just have the space alone to myself. And for most of our relationship, he was out of the house working a lot. And so I would be alone in the house. And I realized that's some of my most creative time, is being just alone in a comfortable space.
Yeah.
And so I talked to him about that. And I said, I have some more free time right now from work and I can do the housework. I think I would really prefer to just be home alone, and knowing that, you're kind of picking up the slack for what bills need to be paid. And we had that, conversation, and he got it. And I know that, maybe in a few months or years, it could change again. And I'm going to be like, I really hate doing the housework and I want to get back to just focusing on the documentary or something. And he'll be flexible with that. But at our wedding, my mom gave a toast, and her kind of ongoing joke about her best marriage advice is low expectations.
Low expectations.
Low expectations. And I think there is some truth to that you really need to be forgiving of, this person is going through life trying to figure it out, like who they are and what they want, just as much as you're trying to figure out who you are and what you want. And there should be, some giving room on exploring, what kind of work you want to do or what kind of lifestyle you want to have. And, I think for me, myself, the more I realize how much my mind changes. So for instance, for a while I was focused on, we need to get our kitchen remodeled because it's stuck in the 80s. And then we went to the UK for the conference, and all these buildings are like, hundreds and hundreds of years old. And I realized that the cracks in the molding are beautiful. You don't need to try to fix everything to make it look brand new. And so I came back home realizing we don't need to do any remodeling. We're just fine.
That's so
but,
funny.
you should always vocalize your changing mind. And every relationship counselor, psychologist would say, communicate.
Yeah.
And I think it's because there's always new things to share, and we are fluid beings. Like we will change our mind as we age, or as our financial situation changes, or career situation, or family changes. We will have different interests or goals. And so keeping each other on the same page, or at least knowing where my page is and understanding where his page is. So I do talk more than my husband, so I have to, make sure to get the information out of him. And I think for a lot of guys, they may only share the tip of the iceberg of everything that they're really thinking or feeling, and maybe for the most part, they're not even letting their feelings, analyze them or address them themselves. Like they're just pushing them down. So, I do have to make sure to shut my mouth and really try and understand where he's at right now.
Yeah. Which I'm sure you're great at, because you're a great documentarist. Is that the right word?
Yeah, documentarian.
Documentarian, yeah. You're great at that, so I'm sure that you're great at retrieving information from guys. And it's a skill that most women could learn and probably even hone. A lot of women don't really, not to make sweeping generalizations, but a lot of women sometimes, like, they like to kind of talk and hear what they want to hear, but not really listen and understand that it's true. A lot of men don't really share the full depth of their feelings. And also, if they start getting the feeling that when they do share, you're going to judge them or make it kind of a hostile environment, then they're going to be less likely to share that depth in the future. So they kind of, not to use the word safe space, but we do have to be a safe space for men to confide in, and kind of that nurturing, non-judgmental space.
Yeah.
So, well, great. So, I can talk to you all day. We have so much to talk about, but I'm sure you have to get going to do other things. But one last question. Do you think that we can eventually make love great again?
Yes, absolutely. You have to have faith.
Yes.
Yeah, I think love is great, and I think a lot of it has to do with, Oh God, I'm trying to like go into some really like, oh, I'm gonna give this perfect nugget of information. I didn't write a book on making love great again, so I haven't spent the years trying to figure out what's the secret sauce. But but I do think it is about, you know, humbling yourself and really trying to see the other person for who they are and accept them for all of them. And well, to quote a very cheesy quote that I watched in a movie recently, she said, "You like someone because, but you love someone in spite of," or something.
Ooh, that's great.
Yeah, and you know, Evan is very different from me, and I think that's what's wonderful about us. And, you know, I'm constantly learning from him, and he's challenging me, and he's giving me perspectives I've never thought of before. His brain is the most different from mine than I think I've ever met in anyone. Wow. And that's why I love him so well. So that's why I like him so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's love is great, and I hope everyone finds that.
Me too. It's the doom and gloom, you know, it's evil, I think, to succumb to that doom and gloom, like nothing can ever change and have this negative attitude. We have to have hope, because hope is what gets you out of bed every morning, and it's what gives you that effort to move forward to the future, and actually it keeps you fighting and putting in effort. But when we kill hope, we kill the will to fight and to change and really to live. So thanks for
one
saying
more
that.
Nugget.
Yes, I love your nuggets.
Invest in your joy.
Ooh,
invest in your joy. Because, you know, you can work so hard, especially for feminist women who are so like, I'm a career-driven woman, I don't need a man. You can work so hard in your career, but at the end of the day, if you lose someone you love, or you have, you know, a terminal illness or something, all that matters are the people in your life that you love. Invest in them, because that's all that matters. And so how do you invest in how do you invest in joy? For me and my husband, book reservations out in advance, make sure we, you know, get dressed up and we feel like it's in one of the first dates we've ever had, and plan trips, go on vacations. I mean, you may feel like you have limited finances, but investing in your joy is just as important as investing in your retirement or education or whatever it is. Make that time to, because all you know is that you have today. You don't know you have tomorrow or any other day. So make sure that you know, live it with the people you love, and invest in them. Invest in your joy. What a great point to end. That's beautiful. That's a great movie title or book title. I got to give credit to where I heard it, though. Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins. Great. Thank you so much. Invest in your joy, guys. I'm really, really sorry to get all of your comments, but sometimes I get lost in my interview because we're in such a great conversation. It's a sign of a good conversation, though. And I apologize. I'm on my stream on Friday. I will answer a lot of these comments that came through for both of us. But we did get huge accolades. Everyone here said thank you so much for the work that you're doing, and they really appreciate our bravery and mission to show the truth. Thank you. Thank you so much, Cassie Jaye. It's been a really pleasure to come in here. And please come on again sometime in the future. I'd love to have you again. Would love that. Okay. Thank you so much. And we'll be in touch, okay? Bye. Okay, bye. Okay, guys. Whew. Long interview, but great interview. She's so fantastic, isn't she? She's so open and truthful and honest, and I love that. Hey, I got a pop-up on my phone, and I'm here. Cool. Ugh, better late than never. Hey, guys, I'm so sorry I didn't get to get all of your comments. Truly, I really tried to get all of your comments and questions, but such a great interview. But sometimes it's just better to go with the flow of the interview and, you know, get to, instead of being interrupted by the comments. So the child abuse question, someone asked about a child abuse question. I thought that we did cover it. She did say specifically that many, there's statistics of males that are raised by single moms have a high percentage of child abuse, of having them grow up to be shooters, murderers, drug addicts, felons, etc. I'm 99.9% positive that she mentioned the child abuse in that whole
conversation that we had. So I apologize if she didn't say that specifically. I'm 99% sure, and that's why I didn't want to go back there, because we started sort of going into kind of a more positive direction. But I hope that your question was answered, and I will most certainly answer the question about child abuse more specifically if you want on this Friday, on the Friday show, okay? Because I have a lot of statistics on that too. But thank you guys. I hope you got a lot out of it, and cool, we got a lot of viewers. Thank you. I love you guys so much. You guys are amazing, and Cassie Jaye is too. Let's have her on again. Some love. You're welcome. And this is a perfect time for the closing prayer. Family is the glue to our society, and especially this great country. The family and marriage are what held together this great country so long. People may think of the patriarchy as evil, as oppressive. I think of the patriarchy, if there is considered one, as protective, as a great father, like God the Father, you know, protective and holding that structure together, holding that stability together. Because guess what? What happens when you remove the patriarchy from a family? Yep, the whole family falls apart. As we can see now, the whole family becomes unglued. And not just the family, the effects and the repercussions of the patriarchy left has a ripple effect that we can't even necessarily quantify, but it's much greater than just the individual parts, because then those individual members go out into the world and cause harm or destruction, right? So the patriarchy leaves a family and it falls apart and creates repercussions. A patriarchy leaves the country, and look at that. Our country is falling apart because the stability falls apart, the structure falls apart. They used to hold it together, and that protectiveness falls apart. So maybe some people call it a patriarchy or it's evil. I call it protective, like a father, and it should be there if it's done in the right, strong, loving ways, right? So I'm going to end with the closing prayer. I pray that more women and men see the light and can open their hearts to love instead of hate, can open their hearts to unity rather than divisiveness, can open their minds to truth rather than lies. I pray for love and protection for our great president and his family and all those working for us, that they remain safe and resilient in the face of so many forces working against them. I pray for all of you and the truth warriors of the world who are courageously speaking the truth and boldly working to bring those who are in the darkness into the light. Put on the full armor of God so you'll be able to stand firm against the schemes of the devil. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the powers, against the world forces of this darkness, against the spiritual forces of wickedness in heavenly places. I pray that all of you find true and lasting love, and that God puts an incredible helpmate in your life to be with you on this journey and bring you the beautiful family, the joy, and all the blessings that you deserve. And lastly, we know that good conquers evil, that love conquers grace, and that together and with God's help and grace, we will make our country and our world great again. Amen. I love you guys. Thanks so much for your patience. Thanks for hanging out. And be here on Friday, bright and early, 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific Time on the New Right Network and on my channel, DeAnna Lorraine 7. Make sure you give me a follow, DeAnna Lorraine 7, on my YouTube and my Twitter. And we'll see you later.